Have you ever been to a party and met someone who was just great looking? I mean, really attractive. And they are also accomplished, skilled at many things. And somehow you end up in a relationship with this person. Fantastic. You feel so lucky. I mean, personally, I put this down to wit and intelligence, but nevertheless, you become an item. However, after a while, you start to notice little things that annoy you. And eventually you begin to wonder if this is actually the right person for you after all, despite all your first impressions. Well, it's a bit like that with the Longines triple date Moonphase chronograph. This is a glorious looking watch, so much so that it features in my YouTube cover photo. And it's extremely accomplished. As the name implies, it has Moonphase, it has chronograph, it has triple date calendar function, it has a display case back and the movement looks great too. So what can possibly be wrong with it? Let's start with the good stuff. With a suggested retail price of only £3,350 or about $4,500 excluding any tariffs, this watch can be considered a bargain. This many complications packed into a watch with a 40mm case, 46mm lug-to-lug, and only 14.5mm depth, although the watch actually looks slimmer on the wrist thanks to the protruding case back. To pack all this in is impressive already. Then consider the price. One of the few watches outside of Patek Philippe with this array of functions is the Breitling Datura, which is £11,500 or £21,500 for the gold version, although that does look so good. There are, of course, other Longines variants, but this blue one just looks fantastic. Not only that, the functions work really well, thanks to the Longines exclusive caliber L687.5, a development of the Valjoux 7751, itself a highly modified version of the veritable 7750. This is a really nice movement with 27 jewels and it looks good too. The observant amongst you will have realised that the modifications include the replacing of the chronograph cam system with a new column wheel and vertical clutch arrangement. The effect is superb and the chronograph requires just a firm but not unusual click to start, after which the start-stop are just delightful. Reset does require a little more pressure, but again, not unusual. 2 of the 3 subdials relate to the chronograph function, with chronograph minutes at 12 o'clock, chronograph hours at 6 o'clock. The 3rd subdial contains the 24-hour hand and the running seconds. The 24-hour hand means you can be sure the watch is at midday and not midnight when you start altering the date. This naturally brings us on to the subject of the face. There may be better looking watches out there, but not many. This 40mm case looks great on the wrist. In my opinion, the 42mm looks too big for this style, but I'm obviously in the minority because it costs about £200 more in every colour variant. The sunburst dial looks just fantastic in the sun. The subdials are all surrounded by highly polished beveled edges and have tiny concentric circles in each dial, which again look fantastic, and it's the sort of detailing that's really easy to overlook. The leaf style hands perfectly complement all this. The indices are all applied, as is the Longines symbol. Incidentally, this is the world's oldest registered logo that's still in use. The subdial for chronograph minutes also incorporates the day and month display with a pointer date used to complete the triple date function. This is not a perpetual calendar, so you will have to wind the date forward one day 5 times a year when the month has less than 31 days in it. Turn the watch over and you get that lovely display case back showing the column wheel movement and the Longines logo on the rotor. There are definitely more intricate, more decorated and more attractive movements out there, but at this price point this isn't bad at all. In fact, it's pretty good. So, what's wrong with it? A watch this good looking, this accomplished? Well, firstly, too many fonts. The chronograph subdials use a wonderful font which looks like it's been used on quality watches since the 1930s. Next to this, the font used to indicate the date is, well, Arial, I reckon. Why? Why would you use this? It's also used on the 24-hour dial, and far too much of it as well. We don't need to indicate every other hour. Every 3 would be fine, every 6 even better. It just looks crowded. No, it is just crowded. Furthermore, whilst on the subject of the 9 o'clock subdial, why are the running seconds on the inner section, where by necessity they have to be tiny? The 24-hour indicator doesn't need nearly so much detail, so could have easily been on the inside, and the running seconds on the outside, where they could be clearer. Speaking of the hands, it brings me the thing which might just lead to divorce. The minute hand doesn't reach the minute indices. In fact, it seems to stop about 100 yards away. The minute hand points at the date. The minute indices are, for some unknown reason, on the other side of the date markers. Why on earth is this the case? It makes lining the minute hand up when setting the time, for example, a mixture of guesswork, judgment, and luck. 2 solutions: either print the minute track where it should be, inside the date, and move the date to the outside of the face, perfect, or, not ideal, but lengthen the minute hand so it reaches the minute track and have the date indicators in the correct font. Also, the date indices themselves. For some reason, the 12 o'clock position is occupied by the 31st and not the 1st, unlike how Horace does it. This means on the 1st of the month, with a new month in the little window which you want to look at, it's obscured by the pointer hand, which is now pointing at the 1st. And finally, whilst this looks fantastic in sunlight, in port lighting it's damn difficult to read the time. In fact, after spending 30 seconds trying to angle the thing to catch the light, I've sometimes had to concede defeat and get my phone out, which is not ideal. The real upset about this is that Baum and Mercier do it so much better. Remember I made reference to meeting that incredibly attractive person at the party? Now you meet their slightly less attractive cousin. Not quite as good looking, but they just do everything so much better. These two are so similar that I initially presumed Baum and Mercier were part of the Swatch group, but actually they belong to their competitor, the Richemont group. This clearly utilises the 7751, but does it so much better. The date indicators are still inside the minutes, but the minute hand reaches the minute track and the pointer date is red tipped to distinguish it from the minute hand, making telling the time considerably easier. The running seconds track outside the 24-hour indices, which are reduced to every 6 hours, just as they should be. This gives greater clarity to both. Okay, it doesn't look as good as the Longines, but it does seem more accomplished. My problem is that if I had this watch, I would be constantly looking at the Longines, catching the sunlight and how nice that column wheel movement is, etc., and wondering whether I should have bought that instead. They say the grass is always greener, well, bluer in this case. So, what can I do? Well, currently I'm saving up for a Breitling Datura. In the meantime, I will wear this watch on sunny days and try to enjoy its overall look and ignore those annoying little details.